What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and in this video, we're going to cover the origin of Victor Timely, or an alternate persona of Kang the Conqueror. Why? Because Kang's in the MCU, and we're dealing with the multiverse saga, which means we're dealing with an infinite number of variants of characters, so we're going to cover as many variants of Kang as we possibly can. And Victor Timely is one of the lesser known, so I figure that'd be kind of a cool thing to cover here. So here's the idea of Victor Timely, and what I'm about to tell you here is something that we are going to reiterate in future videos, but I'm going to give you guys the quick and dirty explanation on the history of Kang. So the idea behind this is that Kang was just a guy named Nathaniel Richards who lived in the future, and life was boring because every problem that could be solved was solved. And so in order to basically make life unboring for himself, he discovered Dr. Doom's time platform and then traveled back to the days of ancient Egypt in an effort to conquer all of reality. He was defeated by the Fantastic Four. During that time, of course, he named himself Rama-Tut, and then after his defeat by the Fantastic Four, he was supposed to go back to his own time, but he ended up landing in the 20th century and then started calling himself Scarlet Centurion after designing a suit of armor that was modeled after Dr. Doom's suit. The relationship between Dr. Doom and Kang is a little finicky, right? Sometimes he's descended from Dr. Doom, other times Marvel will say he's descended from Reed Richards. We don't really know. Marvel never gave us a definitive answer, but the important thing here is that he was defeated yet again. This time, he was defeated by the Avengers. This led to him fleeing back to his own time, but overshooting by 1,000 years. And so when he landed on Earth in that future, what you had was humanity that was exceedingly primitive, surrounded by super advanced technology. And so Nathaniel harnessed the technology, conquered the entirety of the Earth, and then changed his name to Kang the Conqueror. And then following that, he starts bouncing back and forth through time trying to find a way to conquer Earth. What ends up happening here, and what this tells us in terms of Victor Timely, is it brings in something called the Chronopolis. And what it tells us is that following his first defeat at the hands of the Avengers, presumably when he was Scarlet Centurion, and before he fled back to, or at least was supposed to go back to his own time, he founded Chronopolis. And Chronopolis is literally just a giant technological city that exists out there, but is displaced from the time stream. It's technically considered to be out of phase with the normal main Marvel universe. All that means is you can't see it and you can't enter into it. Only somebody like Kang can do that. So it's a little weird and it's a little wonky. You know how the Flash basically changes his vibration to go from one universe to the next? It's that exact same thing in terms of being out of phase. So it's like if the entire Marvel universe were colored red, that being out of phase, or the Chronopolis, is colored blue. So all Kang has to do is change his color from red to blue, and then he can enter into Chronopolis. The best explanation I can possibly offer off the cuff that's non-confusing. But the important thing here is that with the establishment of Chronopolis, what Kang wanted to do was position himself at a time when he could manipulate the entirety of the 20th century. Instead of just showing up and trying to kill all the superheroes, the best thing to do was influence technological advancements over the course of the 20th century so he could effectively control them all. Think of it like a kind of backdoor to modern day technology, a virus that he could use, that he could basically control all technology that exists in the world. The way in which he did this was using his time travel device to appear in some little backwater town in upstate Wisconsin, and that when he appeared here, he basically fashioned himself the name Victor Timely and then presented himself as an inventor that was on par with Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. The latter's a poor choice because Thomas Edison stole all his technology from Tesla. But the thing about this is that by operating under the name of Victor Timely and then building factories and providing industry to this town and then building up its wealth as well as its popularity in the United States, he in turn renamed the town to Timely, so he named it after himself. And then doing that, what Kang started to realize is that he can't stay as Victor Timely forever. That if he were to stay Victor Timely and stay youthful, people would start asking questions, because from the perspective of the town, he's just a regular guy who's really good when it comes to inventing stuff. And so over time, what he started doing was going back to Chronopolis and then of course sort of watching the time stream to a degree, making sure that his changes or the modifications that he was making were impacting the timeline the way he was supposed to. But what also ended up taking place is that following the quote-unquote death of Victor Timely due to old age, suddenly his son, Victor Timely Jr. appeared. And that of course was Kang the Conqueror, just replacing himself as Victor Timely. And then just kept doing that over and over and over again, with no one being any the wiser of the fact that he was secretly operating as not only Victor Timely, but the different descendants of Victor Timely. And in fact, Victor Timely Jr. actually had a run-in with Phineas Horton, who worked at Timely Corporation, which was ran by Victor Timely Jr. Now, Phineas Horton is exceedingly important in the landscape of Marvel Comics. He's the guy who created the original Human Torch. So, those of you guys, this this is a really cool Easter egg for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you guys remember Captain America, the first Avenger, when Steve Rogers, all emaciated and everything, goes to the Stark Expo, there's like this brief moment where the camera's like panning, and then you see what looks like a flaming guy inside of a giant containment device. That's the original Human Torch, Jim Hammond. That was built by Phineas Horton, right? It was basically the Human Torch before Johnny Storm. But the thing about this is that Phineas Horton working at Timely gave him not just the intelligence, or at least the boost to intelligence, but also the resources to build the Human Torch. And the result of this is that he eventually left Timely, and that's when he built Jim Hammond. So it's one of those things where it's kind of in a lot of ways Kang the Conqueror as Victor Timely influencing everything that went on in the 20th century. Not only that, every form of technology that's currently utilized across the world in the modern era in Marvel Comics, technology utilized by Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four, prosthetics, the whole 9 yards, that's all because of Victor Timely. The Kang the Conqueror really does control almost all forms of technology across the world. Now, this story was also written way back in the day. There really hasn't been an instance, as far as I'm aware of, where Kang has utilized that and basically shut down all technology across the world and then seized control of it, which really makes you wonder why he hasn't done that yet. But nonetheless, that's the origin of Victor Timely. Not the most important version of Kang there ever was, but one of the different variations of Kang that does exist out there. So with that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this to an end. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.